Did you hear that? All right, first and foremost, I was supposed to do a live on Sunday night. I did go to our main research area. I left work. I got out there at about 5:15, and unfortunately, I was only there for about 2 hours. So there was no live. It was a crappy day. I will get into that in a minute. So that's why there was no live. I'm going to try, if I get permission, to get out there again and redo the whole thing. But I did get some pretty decent video of quote unquote structures. I also had some things happen. I don't know. We'll see. Now, the first thing I do is, well, let's remind you of how the property is laid out. There's a big pipeline that runs right through the middle, and there's two wood lines, one on either side. These little marks, these are where we found the pine straw beds. This is where me and Joe had our sighting, or both of our sightings. This is where the big one ran across the field, came down the wood line, and then ran in here when all three of us were up here. And this area is where we actually find the structure things. So I get out of my vehicle. I'm kind of making decisions on what I'm going to do for the day. And first thing I do is walk down the creek, across the creek, and I go over into the area where we find the structures. I don't know if they're structures or not. I do know that they've been out there for over 35 years. The Sasquatch have been. We've confirmed that. There's a bunch of other evidence that they've been there quite a while. We've seen them. But I'm not 100% sold that structures are anything dealing with Sasquatch. I am very convinced they use sticks to mark things. I've experienced that in real time. So it's very possible. What I do find interesting is both sides of the wood line are exactly the same. It's pine saplings that go into hardwoods on both sides. Both areas have like kind of wetland areas. Both sides have hog sign. The big difference is in this one corner right here, it might be about a 3-acre section. That's the only place we find these structures. We do not find them on the other side. You would think sticks fall in the woods. Why are they only looking weird on one side? So that's a little convincing. There were a few things that I found that look like marker sticks along with the structures. I'll show you guys that. I got video of that. Pretty interesting. But here's the deal. When it comes to structures, this is what I ask myself. There's a lot of people that have hypotheses on what they are, what they're used for. If you tell me, I'm just going to use a random example. If you tell me that, well, Sasquatch makes this particular structure in order to convey this particular message to other Sasquatch. Maybe it's a territorial marker. I ask myself this. Number one, how do you know that? And number two, would it take long-term observation of the species in order to confirm that hypothesis?
Back at it again. Out here at the happy place. Odd name for a wild property with subhuman creature-like primate things living on it. As I have explained before, I'm not big on structure, but on this property there's always weird things that kind of look placed and just kind of catch your eye a little bit. I sure wish somebody would get video of a Sasquatch making a structure. That would be nice. One skole. Like something like this. All these crisscrosses. And this bad boy. You got one here. That ends in between those. Where did that come from? There's not a tree big enough to hold that limb that direction. But who knows? Neat. So that one's in between that one. That's interesting. I don't know. I like this one. Then again, trees fall in the woods. But, you know, I come across stuff like this in an area that I don't know if there's Sasquatch there or not. I'm probably not going to think much about it. But since I know they live here and they've been here for 30 years, and then you get stuff like this, it could be natural. But, find a lot of it, and only in this area, only this side of the property. We do not find it on the other side of the property. So I don't know. I go through this every time. See, there's one stick sticking up there, and then one sticking up right there, along with those. Perfectly lined up. One there, and that one there. And then another one. No, that's an actual tree, a little tree. Getting eaten alive back here. I get done looking at the structures and I cross the pipeline. I go into the opposite wood line. I start making my way back to the creek area. I don't know, I get 30 yards from the creek and my face feels like it's going to catch on fire, like radiation burn, or like my face was in a microwave or something. And it's got to be the bug spray. I use like it's 98.6% DEET that I normally use, right? I didn't even know that that was legal, but it works really good. Get it at Walmart. And I didn't even use that. I just used just a regular run-of-the-mill off. before going into the woods, and the mosquitoes were super bad. But I covered my face and the rest of my body, and for whatever reason, after being out there about 30 minutes or so, my face felt like it was like catching on fire. It was horrible. Never had that happen before. I've worn bug spray in like every imaginable condition that you can think of. Going up sides of mountains and mowing the grass and hunting and everything else. Never had this problem ever. So I figure I need to get this off my face right now. So I walk up to the creek. I get down in the water. I wash my face off. Stand back up. Wipe my face off. And it gets worse. My nose starts running. Now my eyes are burning, and my face is burning even worse. And I'm like, great, just great. But I'm just like, whatever, you know. I'm gonna continue walking around. I've got some soap back at the truck. I'll just wash it off when I get back. Now I walk alongside the creek. So I went from this side, I crossed, and I went this direction, and I got to the creek. That's about where I'll wash my face off at. And I got on the other side and walked this direction, and I make it maybe 40 feet, something like that, 40, 50 feet, and my back starts to go out, my lower back. I've had back and shoulder problems. I've had a lot of issues. My time in the military to a bad wreck and everything else, you know, just living an active life. About 6 years ago, I had disc replacement surgery, and just my luck, the one below it is now herniated. There's no more disc left. So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do about that. Anyway, so that flares up. It's okay if it stays in my upper back. It's just pain. I can deal with the pain. When it gets to my lower back, I get spasms, and then my left leg quits working. I've got sciatica in that leg, and that's what started to happen. So I kept walking a little bit, and there's a big pine tree right there next to the creek. So I just dropped down on my knees and grabbed a hold of that pine tree just to let some stress off my lower back. And I thought it'd be a good time to say a couple prayers too. You know, when I get out in the woods, I don't talk about it much, but I am Christian. You know, when you pray at dinner or at church or whatever else, you just bow your head and you do your pray. Every once in a while, when I get out in the woods by myself, I like to get down in the dirt and do a real good prayer, you know, because nobody's looking. So I figured that'd be a good time to pull one of those off. And I'm getting my togethers together, and I already know that I'm going to have to leave, because if my back's that bad, number one, I'm going to have to go back to my truck, and I'm going to have to lay down. And when I lay down, it's going to tighten up, and then I'm going to be pretty much immobile for at least a day. I pretty much knew the trip was over. So I'm sitting there, and I get my togethers together, and I'm about to get up, and I hear a very loud break. So after the break, I get up, and now I got a decision to make. I don't want to leave in case it's them, but I can't see. You can hear me like my sinuses are running real bad now, right? So I start to go towards the creek because I'm going to wash my face off again. And I'm like, yeah, but if they're here, I don't want to stick my face down in the water. So, plus I need my camera. I had the GoPro on top of my head. A lot of this footage is from that GoPro. It's unstabilized, unfortunately. I don't have a gimbal for my phone right now. That broke. I had to get a new one. So most of this is GoPro footage that's unstabilized. But, you know, I wanted to have that camera up and facing the right direction. So I just turn around and I just start walking in the direction where I heard that sound. So if this is the creek and I'm at this pine tree, the sound came from over here somewhere. So what I figured is I need to cross the creek, and this side's wide open, and I'd be able to walk the creek and then check this wood line as I do. Right when I'm going across the creek, there is a very, it's a sound that I've only heard on my property. And there is a couple clicks, like these clicking sounds or popping sounds, and then a high-pitched chirp. Now, it very well, 95% chance that what you're about to hear is some animal that I have yet to identify. It's probably a bird or a squirrel of some type, okay? It's probably just, maybe it's just a coincidence that it happened with that break. But the important part about this sound and why I'd like your help to identify what this is because this sound, that chirp, is what I've been talking about for the past year on my own property. When I get activity, I never hear it unless I'm getting activity. I can walk around the woods all night long and never hear this loud, high-pitched smoke detector chirp. But I was hearing it when I would have activity. And I thought, well, they're just disturbing something when they're moving around at night, right? But then I was experiencing there'd be a throw, and then there'd be movement, and then a chirp where that movement is. And one night that happened, and then there was movement on this side and another chirp, like they were going back and forth. And it started to appear to me like it's actually the Sasquatch making this sound. And it sounds like they're communicating back and forth. Now it's got to the point to where before they throw something, I've got a couple, I think 2 different nights where they throw objects into my yard, and they do that chirp first. So what I think it is, I think they're mimicking whatever animal this is. Now, I would like to say, well, that was a Sasquatch that did that break, made that sound, and there's the chirp that a Sasquatch makes on my property. I don't necessarily think that, but it may be the exact animal that they're mimicking here. So I would like, if any of you know what this is, put it in the comments. I do not know it's like a series of clicks and then a high-pitched chirp sound, like a smoke detector alarm, like the battery's going dead on a smoke detector. So when you listen, try to ignore the water, okay? I'm walking through the water, and listen for the clicks and then the chirp. But take a look at that, and I'll be right back. I get on the other side, and I just walk like I normally do out there. I was out there for about another 35 minutes. A little bit of slow progress, slowed me down a little bit, but I knew as long as I kept moving, I'd be all right until I sat down, and then it was going to lock up on me, which it did. Nothing happened. I didn't hear anything else. I made it back to the truck. I packed everything up and I left, unfortunately. It really sucks to drive out there 3 hours and then be there for 2 hours and have to leave again. You know, that was not the plan at all. But stuff happens. Now, was that them out there? I don't know. I don't know if it was or not. What I am going to do is this video will be by itself, and then I will take all the GoPro video from that day and make one long video to where if y'all want, you can go through the video and see if I missed anything. I'm going to be going through the video also. So that was it. That was my interesting trip. All in all, I guess for 2 hours, it was a little bit of an exciting trip. I don't know. I have no idea what the whole bug spray thing was. I've never had that happen. I don't have sensitive skin. I usually wear stuff that's even stronger than that. I don't know. I don't really know what happened. But, you know, just some things happen. Bad days. But that's pretty much it for that. I am getting together with Lloyd, and we're trying to get a trip back out there, him and I together. I'm also trying to get out there by myself. If I get permission from the property owner, I'm going back this week. You know, we only have until deer season starts to get back out there. So I think there's a good chance they're out there. You know, we're not 100% convinced that there's right there right now. You know, this isn't enough to go on with this video. But we will see. I will talk to y'all later.